The village of Nsumu sat nestled between vast rolling hills and a dense, ancient forest. It was a place where whispers carried secrets, and the wind often seemed to sing forgotten tales. The people of Nsumu were prosperous, not because of wealth, but because of a sacred gift, the presence of a healer named Zimoni. Zimoni was unlike any other healer. She did not just mix herbs or recite chants. She carried a rare and powerful gift that allowed her to see into the soul of the sick and mend their pain from within. It was said that she could hear the cries of wounded spirits and silence them with nothing more than a touch. People from distant lands traveled for days to seek her help, and none ever left disappointed. One fateful evening, a great darkness fell upon Nsumu. A stranger arrived, the hooded figure whose face was hidden in the shadows. The villagers felt a chill run through their spines as the figure walked past, heading straight for Zimoni's hut. The stranger knocked once, then twice, and finally entered without waiting for an answer. No one saw what happened inside that night. No one heard a scream, no struggle, no sign of a fight. But when dawn came, Zimoni was gone. Her hut was empty, the fire in her heart had gone cold, and only a single handprint, charred into the wood, remained on the door. The village erupted into panic. Without Zimoni, who would heal the sick? Who would soothe the crying children? But more than that, who would dare take their beloved healer? A young hunter named Kweku stepped forward. He had always admired Zimoni, not just for her power, but for her kindness. He had been just a boy when she saved his mother from a fever that no other healer could cure. Now, he was determined to find her. Armed with only a spear, a bag of dried provisions, and the blessings of the village elder, Kweku set out into the unknown. The journey ahead was perilous, and many feared he would never return. But he had no choice, he had to bring Zimoni back. Kweku's search led him deep into the whispering forest, a place that many feared to enter. The trees were thick, their branches twisting like grasping fingers. The air was filled with an eerie hum, as if the wind carried the murmurs of lost souls. On the third night of his journey, as he camped near a stream, he heard a sound, a soft, rhythmic chanting carried by the wind. His heart pounded as he followed the sound, pushing through thick vines and overgrown roots. And then, in a clearing bathed in moonlight, he saw them. A circle of figures, dressed in dark robes, stood around a bound figure. It was Zimoni. Her hands were tied, her eyes closed, yet she was murmuring something under her breath. The robed figures surrounded her, whispering in a language Kweku did not understand. Before he could act, one of them raised a dagger, its blade catching the moon's light. Without thinking, Kweku sprang forward. He let out a roar, brandishing his spear, and charged into the circle. The figures scattered in shock, their hoods falling back to reveal gaunt, hollow-eyed faces. Zimoni's eyes snapped open. "Kweku!" she gasped. "You must not." But it was too late. The leader of the group, a tall figure with dark, sunken eyes, turned to Kweku with a slow, deliberate smile. "You do not know what you are interfering with," the man hissed. Kweku didn't care. He lunged forward, aiming his spear at the man's chest. But the stranger merely raised a hand, and suddenly, Kweku was frozen in place. He could not move, could not speak. A wave of darkness rushed over him, pulling him into unconsciousness. When Kweku awoke, he was no longer in the forest. He was inside a dimly lit cave, the air thick with the scent of burning herbs. Across from him, Zimoni sat, her wrist still bound but her expression calm. "You shouldn't have come," she said softly. "What happened? Who are they?" Kweku asked, his voice hoarse. Zimoni sighed. "They are the keepers of the void. They believe that the world must be cleansed of healers like me. They fear our power." Kweku's fist clenched. "Then we must stop them." Zimoni shook her head. "It is not so simple. They have been hunting me for years, waiting for the right time. But I let them take me. Kweku's eyes widened. You let them? I needed to learn their ways, to understand their weakness. They are bound by old magic, but magic has rules, and rules can be broken. At that moment, the cave trembled, and a deep voice echoed through the space. It is time. The robed figures entered, their leader stepping forward. He held an ancient, cracked bowl filled with dark liquid. With your sacrifice, Ila, we shall return the world to its rightful state. Kweku struggled, but the bonds held tight. He watched, helpless, as the leader raised the bowl to Zemoni's lips. But then, Zemoni smiled. A blinding light erupted from her skin, washing over the cave. The robed figures screamed as the light burned through them. Kweku shut his eyes against the brilliance, feeling warmth surge through him. When he opened them again, the cave was empty except for Zemoni, who stood free of her bonds. It is done, she whispered. But as they turned to leave, a deep growl filled the cave. From the shadows emerged the true master of the keepers, a towering figure with skin like cracked stone and eyes like burning coals. You think it is over? The entity growled. You are only beginning to understand the depth of our power. Zemoni braced herself. Kweku, run. No, Kweku said, gripping his spear. We fight. The entity lunged, darkness swirling around its form. Kweku dodged, striking with his spear, but the creature was too fast. Zemoni raised her hands, chanting words of old magic. Light clashed with darkness, shaking the very ground beneath them. With one final, desperate strike, Kweku hurled his spear, piercing the heart of the beast. Zemoni unleashed a wave of golden energy, shattering the entity into dust. The cave collapsed around them, but they made it out just in time. The keepers of the void were no more. Kweku and Zemoni returned to Nsumu, greeted with tears of joy. But both knew that darkness would always seek the light. As Zemoni placed a hand on his shoulder, he felt a strange warmth spread through him. You are ready, she said. For what? He asked. To become the next guardian. And as the sun rose over Nsumu, Kweku knew that his journey had truly begun.